So that original pipe has been in the ground for more than 60 years. It's a long time.
Yeah, a little over 60 years, yeah.
Do pipelines wear out?
Well, that's a good question. We get asked that all the time. An analogy I often use is a bit like a car. If you don't maintain your car, it will eventually stop working and wear out. But if you continue to replace parts and you do whatever is required to keep it in top condition, you can continue to run that car for an indefinite amount of time. So what we, sorry,
yeah. Well, a car's above ground, a pipe is under the ground. How do you monitor and maintain that, especially if you're looking back at pipe that is 60 years or older?
That's a good question. So the pipe, first of all, we had very good pipe. You know, back in the 50s, it was sort of post-war, and there was one of the big challenges back in at that period was actually getting an allotment of steel to build the pipeline. It was post-war, and the economies were still recovering, and we were very lucky in that we got steel from some very good mills, and so the quality of the steel is very good. The pipe has a coating on the outside that's tar wrap coating. And it also has a cathodic system, so it has an electrical current that's impressed on the pipe to protect it from corrosion from the soil around it. So it's got all of those things. In terms of monitoring the pipe, we have tools that are run through the pipeline, and this is something over the last 20 years or so has become more and more sophisticated.
Is that what they call a pig?
Yeah, so it's not a real pig.
No.
It's an acronym for Pipeline Inspection Gauge.
Yeah.
And so these are tools that can be inserted into the flow of the oil in the pipeline. And they run through sections, maybe 50 to 100 kilometer sections of pipe at a time. They use technology that's similar to what's used in medical science, so either magnetic resonance imaging, kind of a magnetic flux technology, or ultrasound. And so there'll be sensors on the front. So the magnetic ones, for example, there'll be a whole suite of magnets on the front of the tool. As it runs through the pipeline, those magnets create eddy currents in the steel in the pipeline. And then there's sensors on the back of the tool that can pick up those currents that have been created by the flux of the magnets going by. And also on board is a hard drive that records the signals that are received on those sensors. And then it also has it'll have a very sensitive gyroscope. And so it knows exactly where it was when it started its run, and it will keep track of where it has gone through the pipeline. And so what comes out at the end is you have this hard drive that goes away, and there's people who will analyze the sensor readings on there, and they can detect features in the pipeline before they're injurious or they're a risk to the pipeline. So we'll monitor those.
They can sense if there's deterioration.
Yeah, they can identify whether there's a pit or a crack or a dent or things like that. Those are identified, they're cataloged, and then between subsequent tool runs we can monitor whether any of those features are changing. And with every tool run we have, and as part of an ongoing program in the pipeline, every year we have a dig program. So where we're going and digging to either repair, so you can weld a sleeve around the outside of the pipe if there's a feature in there that needs to be addressed, or you can actually just go in and cut a section of pipe out and replace it.
What do you say to somebody who says, yeah, I know that you talk about safety, but is it really important to you? How do you get that message across that it is? Because also I can't help but wonder, what are the consequences of safety not being a number one priority?
Well, it's interesting you raise it that way, because at times I do find it hard to articulate because it's just so core. I mean, we have probably about 400 employees at Kinder Morgan Canada, and that's the primary focus for what we do is making sure that the petroleum, the products that we move are moved safely. We're not in the business of moving petroleum. We're in the business of safe petroleum transportation. And there's all sorts of ramifications, if it wasn't done that way. And frankly, these days, besides all the obvious things about public safety and environmental concerns, you also wouldn't stay in business very long if you weren't doing a good job of this. And it's a very highly regulated business, so it's not just us. So we have people who spend their whole career worrying about how to do this safely, and that's what they come to work every day doing. And then there's also regulatory agencies where there's people that are doing the same thing, making sure that there's oversight and checking up on companies like ours to make sure that they're doing the right thing.